Welcome to Mental Health Monday. We are so happy to have you all here with us this evening. Hello, Dr. Whyte. It's good to see you always.
Greetings, Sister Atonte. Excited about today's program.
Yes, I am too. We have a special guest, but we're going to get more into that in just a little bit. We're going to ask you guys to do what you always do and let us know where you are viewing from and let us know where you're viewing from because we like to see. We know that Living Man at Church is international, so we have viewership from all around the world, but we like to see specifically where you guys are viewing from. So, we here at Mental Health Monday are always excited to talk about everything mental health. We cover so many different things, and tonight is not going to be any different. We're going to be talking about health. But there's going to be things about mental health, how they are connected. We're going to be seeing the ways that they are connected and what we're sharing this evening. So please put in the chat where you're viewing from so we can say a special welcome to you. And I don't know about you, Dr. Whyte, but are you seeing your chat?
There's no. Now I just saw Jason Luxton from
Oh, yep.
Milton,
Okay.
Freewater, Oregon. He beat out
Welcome.
Clint.
Yeah, welcome, Jason. We're missing Clint. I don't know where Clint is at. Clint is a faithful. He's always here for the past 3 years. Clint has been with us so many times here on Mental Health Monday that we just expect it to be him. But we are happy for all of you being here. We had that
Absolutely.
2 week break. We haven't seen you guys, but we are excited again to be here this evening. So many things have happened.
There's Clint. There's Clint. We see Amber
Oh, okay.
representing Northern Cal, but yeah, there's Clint. Welcome, Clint.
Welcome, Clint. You weren't the first tonight, Clint. So that's why we were worried. We were worried. Want to welcome Deborah. I don't know where.
Absolutely.
Yes, Deborah. Welcome to Mental Health Monday. And I was just saying that there's been so many things that have happened since the last time we were on the air. I'm thinking after we did we do a I'm forgetting. We did a program right after the horrible
Yes.
assassination. We did do a program.
Yeah, we
Okay,
did.
but I
Yeah.
think the things that have transpired after that, we have not been on the air since then. Okay. And there was a sad, it was sad yesterday. I was just, it was just a Sunday, a lazy Sunday, and turned on the news, and there was another shooting in Michigan. I don't know if you heard about that. You didn't
I
hear
didn't
about
get
that.
any
There's
details. I didn't get any details.
Yeah, there's just in a church. There was a shooting in Michigan at a church, at a Mormon
Oh
church.
no.
So,
Oh no.
yeah. So I don't. The last I saw, I think one or two had died, but there were 6 injured, and it's just sad because that you can't feel safe even at a place of worship. This is and a lot of stress. People have a lot of anxiety and stress over these types of things that happen.
Well,
So,
it's really sad because you're gonna
mhm,
see more and more armed guards now
yes.
in church settings, and before you know it, it'll be in every setting.
Actually, I saw someone on the news. He works in that field in law enforcement, and he said they do recommend many churches hire a security team.
It's just like
We're living in that time.
it's just crazy how it's getting, you know?
Yes,
It was
it really is. And so
it's,
here, listening to programs like Mental Health Monday to get tips on how to deal with anxiety and stress, that is very beneficial because of the times that we're living in. Very
100%.
beneficial. And of course, we're always encouraging our viewers to reach out to their own mental health professional in the area that they live. Just to always have someone that, if you need that resource to talk to when you're going through things. And so it's very
100%.
important to
100%.
have that. But yes, we want to jump into our program. Thankful for everyone who has put in the chat hello and where they're viewing from. You can continue to do that. We like to see where you are viewing from, but we would like to welcome Dr. Columbus Batiste. And we are going to tell you all about his book and the things that he is doing as well. So we'd like to welcome him here now to the program. Hi.
Hello, hello.
Welcome. Thank you
Welcome,
for
Doc.
It's good to
Yes,
see
thank
you
you for
both.
joining us here at Mental Health Monday. It's so good to see you. Dr. Batiste is actually a friend of mine and a friend of Dr. Whyte. So
Absolutely.
we're just here with friends.
Yes.
Indeed.
I feel privileged that you all have welcomed me into your virtual home. Finally, it's
Yes,
good to be
you are
here.
definitely in our virtual home, and we are happy that you are here. And we know that our viewers this evening are going to be so blessed by the information that you're going to share. So we are excited about that. But Dr. Whyte, can you tell us more about Dr. Batiste, please?
Well, no. I
You
gotta
can't?
pull it
I'm
up.
sorry. I thought
I
you were
can,
reading the
yeah.
bio.
While you're pulling it up, I'll tell you the little that I know. So, Dr. Batiste and
Okay.
I,
Okay.
yeah, Dr. Batiste and I have sat on a number of conferences together. Our churches we're very nearby each other. He is blessed to have a lovely wife and some wonderful kids. And yeah, I've had the pleasure of actually engaging and enjoying his family in some social settings. So when I say this is not a hostile audience, I mean it. And then you're also going to see why we're so excited to have Dr. Batiste on, because he's just a wealth of information. So yeah, we can obviously get into the formality of Dr. Batiste being a trained cardiologist with subspecialty training in interventional cardiology. And the thing that's really exciting, as if that was not enough, is that he's also passionate about prevention.
Yeah.
So that's what we're really going to get into. But I'm sure Sister Atonte has a formal bio. Huge.
And I actually don't. In the email that I got, I don't have the formal bio, but you did say a lot of great things, and we're gonna let
No,
Dr.
I can load it. I didn't. Okay, so here it is.
Okay.
Dr. Columbus Batiste is the regional chief cardiologist for Southern California Permanente Medical Group, and he's overseeing cardiovascular care delivery for 4.6 million patients. He previously chaired the Regional Cardiac Quality Committee, advancing initiatives to improve care across age, gender, and racial groups. In 2018, he spearheaded the development of a virtual cardiac rehabilitation program in partnership with Samsung Technologies, which he continues to lead and which has served tens of thousands of patients through lifestyle medicine principles. Dedicated to advancing community health, he founded Healthy Heart Nation, a nonprofit addressing social and health inequities. He's an international speaker and advocate for whole food, plant-based nutrition, and he's published his book, Selfish, a cardiologist's guide to healing a broken heart, in 2024. Put a 1 in the chat if you are excited to host Dr. Columbus Batiste here today.
Yes, we are. I'm excited. I'm excited. Just to tell you a little bit more about the book, it is a holistic guide to healing from stress, anxiety, and depression through self-care, mindset shifts, and plant-based nutrition. And
absolutely. So I mean,
just about all those things. Yes.
No question.
Yes.
So decorated. So Dr. Batiste, maybe we'll let you say your first words if you'd like. Or did you just want us to ask you questions? Would you just
whichever we're amongst friends. It's conversational.
Yes, we
exactly.
are. So I have a question. Tell us. So when somebody sees the word selfish, they think, okay, how is that? That's not good. That can't be good for your mental health, for relationships, for your physical health. So tell us how you came up with the book Selfish, and what does that really mean?
No, well, that actually is a great question. And I will just say that just like I say it to like that's something I say to everyone. So I've been in practice nearly 20 years. And so taking care of a lot of patients, and part of my discussions I've had with patients, it would lead me down a pathway of addressing different aspects of their needs. So I went into cardiology thinking I was just going to be straight, narrow, dealing with the heart. And I realized that everything is interconnected. And so I'll never forget watching. I'm a huge sports fan. And so I was watching Michael Jordan, and he was giving his acceptance speech into the Hall of Fame or somewhere thereabouts. And he said, you know what? In order to be successful, you have to be selfish
Mercy.
or else
Mm.
you'll never succeed. And I remember stopping like, what is he talking about?
You
And he
sure
kind of
Kobe
talked
didn't say that? Michael said
nah,
that?
It was Michael.
The
Kobe's little
goat.
Michael
The
anyway.
goat.
Kobe follows Michael, right? They're cut from the same
Mhm.
rug, and they have the
Mhm.
same affliction. And so
Yeah.
he said, you know what? You have to be selfish, or else you'll never succeed. I remember stopping and pausing, and it was almost like a movie, A Beautiful Mind, with Russell Crowe, and where he was dealing with a lot of psychiatric issues. I think he had schizophrenia. And in this movie, it kind of showed like the numbers, he was his genius, would just kind of come into place. And it
Mhm.
was weird. It was almost as if the letters of selfish took hold in terms of the pillars of care, which is
Mhm.
spiritual, exercise, love, food, intimacy,
Mhm.
sleep, and humor. And these were all the components of things that over the years that I would talk to patients about. And beyond the aspects of really just the traditional medications and procedures. And I would always kind of for years just tell patients, okay, listen, what's the last thing you did for yourself?
Mm.
And they would pause, they look at me and I say, I don't want to hear about for the kids. I don't want to hear about for the
Mm.
spouse. I don't want to hear about for your
Mhm.
job, for you. We
Powerful.
would
Mhm.
talk about things like, tell me the last time you laughed, and they would pause.
Yeah.
I said, tell me the last time you had a good laugh.
Oh,
And
Mhm.
so we
wow.
would have these conversations, and these were all of the foundational pieces that
Mhm.
I started really researching these things that I just seemed common sense, I would say. And it just uncovered this entire world of power, untapped power of how each of these pillars can really impact a person's mental health, but not just that, their physical health, and more
Mhm.
specifically, their heart health.
Mhm.
Powerful.
Yeah,
Powerful.
as you're talking, it's just making me think of what I share with a lot of my clients and making sure that they are doing self-care, especially parents,
Yes.
mothers who are just always taking care of their children. They actually, actually getting them to take some time to do some self-care for themselves, pour into themselves. No, that's beautiful that you're able to teach your patients that. Dr. White, did you want to follow up with a question?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just in admiration of how psychologically minded you are,
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Batiste. And it might have been in an interview where you talked about your experience providing care for your father
Mhm.
and how you kind of reflected on traditional medical education and its limits and feeling as if I've got to do more, and that playing an important part in your journey. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, we all have an origin story, right? There's things that
Mm-hmm.
we come to a fork in the road in our lives for different aspects. It could be relationships, it could be our careers, it could be different things that lead us down a pathway that we didn't think we were going to go down. So when I went into medicine with a specific goal to become the best interventional cardiologist I could, right? And I
Mm,
remember telling individuals when I joined my first practice, I said the answer and solution to ending cardiovascular care, we need to build procedures that can stop this disease, and we have them
Mm-hmm.
available. And the pathway of seeing my dad succumb to a chronic illness, a chronic preventable illness, an illness that doesn't have to happen, was one that was eye-opening. At that time, I was triple board certified. I was chief of the local department there, and I could do nothing at all to really stop that progression. And I'll tell you, with the mental stress and the strain at that same time, and I talk about this in the book, is that my dad loved to get dressed up, whether it was for church or for business meetings. And he had his shoes shined. He taught me how to shine my shoes. And so, because of the ill effects of diabetes, he developed foot drop. And so, which means that his nerves were impacted by his diabetes. And so they no longer worked. So he couldn't flex his foot up, which
mercy,
means he would be prone towards tripping. So he had to have a brace, which meant that he couldn't wear his shoes any longer.
mercy.
So, as a big time cardiologist, I found a place back in the day that made his favorite Stacy Adams shoes that would fit
Mm.
into the foot brace, therefore. So he was like a kid in the candy store. He was so happy, dressed up with his shiny shoes on and had his suit. But little did he know, and I know that as a result of the pressure from wearing that, it caused a foot ulcer. That
Wow.
foot ulcer then progressed and became infected, and my dad never walked again. And so, and he subsequently passed away years later as a result of a multitude of aspects. And so I felt a tremendous level of guilt with that. That was I the one who drove this? So not only did I not stop it, but did I somehow play a role? And so that was a dark time, in terms of really trying to deal with that of self-guilt and doubt and all of those things. And as I began to search and I talk about this, it was only because of the seeds of resiliency that my parents they planted in me as a child that I was able to kind of come out of that darkness and see what God had. And so, you know, it wasn't surprising to me that as a result, I began to search a lot of different aspects of what did I miss? What else could we have done? What else could I have done? Did I not pay attention? Do I need to pay more closer attention to my patients? Were there things that outside that can happen? Because we understand that health happens, about 20% of health occurs inside the doctor's office and hospitals. 80% occurs outside, or what the estimates are. And so what could have been done to encourage my dad outside of medicine, his nutrition, the other components, for someone who knew about what to eat well, but keep him on that straight and narrow? And that began the process of me researching.
Mm.
That began the process of me going to Barnes. It started off simple, like everyone else. I went to Barnes and Nobles. I didn't even go to like PubMed
The
and
literature.
lit searches like that. I went to like simple places. And then then as that progressed, I started going into PubMed. I started going in and I stumbled on books that were impactful that then led me back to a path that perhaps I was trained in unbeknownst to myself years ago as a child. And so that really began to build, and I've always had curiosity about how things work. And so I started learning about the mechanism of action, of how food, of how our mindset, of how spirituality, of how our forgiveness, about how the intimacy of relationships, of precisely what happens in the body that can transform your health, both mental and physical health. So, I mean, that's a long-winded answer to kind of say that full circle
Oh, that
involving.
was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
The question that's jumping off the page right now, Dr. Batiste, what's the last selfish thing you did for yourself?
Oh, I'll tell you, the last selfish day I think I did for myself was yesterday was my birthday. And I went
Good.
and I spent 45 minutes in the infrared sauna, which I can talk to you about all the health benefits of that.
Good. That's
Then I
awesome.
had a 90-minute massage and I
That's selfish. That's
Yeah.
what's up.
yes, and then I completely just took time, moments of gratitude in terms of being grateful for the past year, all the blessings, all the challenges, all the
Yeah.
successes, to reflect on those things and to call those out as well. And so I did those things in terms of the components of selfish, which are important. I exercise too as well. I laughed a little bit. So all the things that I talk about in the book, actually, I was able to participate in during yesterday's period of time.
Happy birthday, Doc. Happy
Yes.
Appreciate
birthday.
that.
Happy
Appreciate
birthday.
that.
That's wonderful. I love the things that you did. The infrared sauna is amazing. It's
Yes.
amazing. Amazing. We do have a question. One of the viewers has a question. Clint Ives is asking, is there such a thing as healthy obsessive drive towards goals?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, I set a theme for every year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's typically what I'll do when I reflect on the upcoming year and what my goals are. And so I've had intentional as one of my words of the year for the past couple of years. But this time I decided I was going to make it three-pronged and keep intentional. I said strategic, intentional, and unapologetic.
Mm.
That's where the obsessive component comes in, because
Mm-hmm.
what may seem as an obsession to others surrounding you, that brings
Mm-hmm.
is your drive. That's your meaning. That's your purpose. So when we talk about meaning and purpose, that's such a powerful component and it's tied to longevity. And that's a component of, people when they find their purpose. Now, obviously connecting to uh, to God and having a drive and a purpose. That's what spirituality is. But that meaning and purpose, that connectivity is such a powerful thing. Now, to someone on the outside, the fact that you're driven to your meaning and purpose may seem as if you have an obsession. And that's where being unapologetic as you're on this journey to achieve your best self becomes important. Because guess what ends up happening? That when others want to have cake and ice cream, they want to go for a pizza party, and you're like, you know what? I'm going to be intentional in my efforts. I'm going to be selfish. That really doesn't. I'm going to be unapologetically selfish because my goals are X, Y, and Z for towards my health. I don't care that others around me may look at me like, why aren't you having this? Why aren't you doing it? That guess what? I need my rest. That I guess I'm gonna have to be selfish in that moment, and I'm going to get my rest. That there takes a level of dedication, that you see that this interplay plays a role. So I do believe that there is a healthy obsession towards your goals.
Well said. Well said. When do you suppose selfish would be a bad thing?
Well, I think anytime that and so now I'm a as I always like to joke with my admin, my not assistants, but my partners in leadership. I said, I'm a get outside my lane a little bit here. So when I get outside my lane a little bit into Dr. Whyte's realm and Tante's realm, whenever we all have a little component of everything, I believe. Right. There's a little bit, I have a little bit of obsessive component. Did I lock that door? Let me go back and check that door real quick. A little type A, a little bit of all these little small components to get depressed a little. I describe being depressed a little bit for a period of time. It's when it takes over your life, when it's persistent.
Yes.
Right. That's when it becomes problematic, is when it becomes persistent. And now, despite other things, now it turns into being a level of harm, either to yourself or to others. And I think there is a fine line with all those things in terms of, because one of the components of true selfish, is the eye for intimacy. And intimacy is not necessarily in the physical form, although it does include that. It's really the relationships, the positive relationships. And when you're engaging in positive relationships that can be supportive, they can be rewarding, they can be uplifting, they can be nurturing. Sometimes you have to give a little bit to maintain those relationships, right? You have to give a little bit in that sort of compromise sort of state. And if you're completely self-absorbed, you can't give a little bit for the relationships.
Well said. Well said. I forgot where, and I'm gonna butcher the quote, but it was like, maybe I made it up. Who knows? It was like if you want, if so actually it was Pastor Randy Roberts, and he was talking about how what you focus on, like if like we are on a journey to meet an old man. In the case of Atonte, it's an old woman. And when we encounter that person, what will they be like? And will they be happy? And if we focus on ourselves, that man or woman is not going to be a happy person, and they're going to be a pretty small person. And if we made others our focus, then that person would be a large and happy person, so to speak. I mean, and I'm just balancing it with what you're saying. So
Absolutely.
so I wholeheartedly agree with you that that balancing it is where we're going to get that richness.
Yes.
And my question basically kind of summarized Deborah's question, which was, what methods should we apply so you do not lose yourself in self-centeredness while still taking care of yourself? So I feel like you answered that. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, I think the first letter, first pillar of spiritual, I mean, if we term biblically and we say, seek ye first the kingdom of God and all these things will be added to you, that our mindset, that determines our direction, that determines our focus. So if our focus starts there, everything else follows in line, right? And that's going to help guide us as we set our purpose. That will evolve. It's going to shift. It's going to change. And it becomes like a domino, right? So if I think of it in those terms, and I start off with spirituality in that context, and I move to exercise, and everyone thinks exercise only as, okay, I'm gonna get in there and do my Peloton. I'm doing my chin ups, whatever it is, my Taibo, if you go back to the 80s. But if we exercise belief, faith.
Mercy.
All
Mhm.
Mercy.
right. So I mean, the studies are powerful when you look at the power of exercising belief in that faith and what begins to transform it. And wonderful work has been done out of Stanford. Dr. Aaliyah Crum has done phenomenal work, kind of looking at the impact, even when you tell individuals that, guess what, housekeepers inside of a hotel, that what you're doing is exercise that will cause you to lose weight. Changing nothing else, number of steps didn't change. All of a sudden, they lost more weight than the people who didn't
Mm.
believe it. They told
Yes.
people, okay, listen, you're drinking this smoothie, but this one is high, rich in fat. All of a sudden, what begins to happen in terms of the body composition based on
Mm.
the mind,
Mercy.
The
and when
power.
we compare our medications, and we all, you understand this, if you
Placebo.
prescribe or you take anything,
Placebo.
we compare it to a placebo, which means an
Mm.
inorganic substance is inert, has no biological activity, which means we're comparing it to your mind,
Mm.
and you have to beat out the mind for it to get approved. But the one thing we're losing in that is I have to also believe in that medication that has some
Yes.
biological activity. So that belief component plays a role. So now you move from spirituality, saying your purpose, and that's there, you're exercising faith and belief. Now you move to the expression of love, because
Mhm.
love is no longer, it's not just a noun, it's a verb. And so as you move to that in forgiveness, in
Mhm.
gratitude, in volunteering or altruistic efforts, now things, the connectivity starts to take shape, and it takes hold, and you're moving through that. Then you move to, hopefully you're having communal food eatings, and we're going to skip over food and come back to that at a later time. Then you go into the
Mhm.
eye of intimacy of relationships. You're building relationships, because now guess what, you have your purpose, you have your belief, you're excited, you're expressing that belief through your actions, and now these
Mhm.
relationships are being formed, and you're able to rest and then get joy and humor in life. So
Right.
it's all interconnected.
It's beautiful.
Yes. We have another
Beautiful.
question. This is from Luetta. I hope I said your name correctly, but she's asking, what do we do with esteem others above yourself, which is a biblical principle when you're talking about being selfish. And I'd like to take a stab at it, and then I
Yeah.
want you, Dr. Batiste, too, as well. Even though, yes, the book is called Selfish, but self care actually is everything except being truly selfish. You're actually pouring into yourself. It's like for me to show up to be a good wife, to be a good mom, even to be a good therapist, I need to do my self care, pour into myself so I can show up and be the best version of myself. So you're actually not being selfish. You're making yourself the better version of yourself, doing the things that you need to do so you're in a healthy mind space so you can be a good mom, be a good mother, be a good whatever your work field is. But Dr. Batiste, please answer her question from your
No,
take.
you're absolutely right. And I mean, it's you you want to engage in the principles of being selfish as I outlined them,
Mhm.
not in the personal, not in a humanistic perspective. A
Right.
humanistic approach towards being selfish is it's mine, as if you're a petulant child. The biblical Christ-like perspective as it pertains to being selfish is just what I outlined.
Yes, sir.
It's the spirituality, it's the exercising belief, it's the love as an action, it's the food,
Mhm.
whether or not the intimacy of relationships, it's the sleep or the day of rest and coming away, it's the joy of life. Those are all the components, the humor that plays a role in truly being a spiritual, a Christ-like. I believe a God-centered selfishness is
That's
what
right.
is what you have to look at. I mean, you think of from a biblical perspective, when Christ went away from his kids his parents as a teen, he said, "Listen, I got to be about my father's business."
Yeah.
Right?
That's right.
That
Bro,
was
when
some
when
people are like, "What are you talking about? How you going to talk to your parents like that? That's selfish."
when
Yeah,
he
he
said
was being
Christ had
selfish.
kids, I almost fell out of my chair, man.
No, no, no.
When
When he was
Christ
with his
was a
parents like
child.
that, yeah. When he was a kid, a child.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yes. No. Well,
go
yes,
ahead.
please continue to put your questions in the chat because you guys are part of this program and we want you to get everything out of it while we have Dr. Batiste here. But I have a question. Um, so tell us on how being selfish, like with your diet, like what the things that you eat and how does that affect your heart
Yeah. So, I
since you're a
mean,
cardiologist?
well, when I look at, I mean, we've broken food down into macronutrients, and food has transformed over the years. And food is
Mm,
relationship. Food is personal with people, right? It
Oh,
brings joy, it brings happiness, it
yeah.
brings memories, emotions are tied to it. That's there, and that we know on a regular basis. But when we look at where are the medicinal properties of food, right? Where are the
Mhm.
medicinal properties of food? It's clear. It's clearly evident the foods that will transform your life really are found in the foods that have been given to us on the earth, right? So fruits, vegetables, whole grains, beans, legumes, nuts, and seeds. There is zero doubt about it. So when I break that down and we start going through from a standpoint from your health, whether it's mental health or physical health, and we walk through those principles and we look at what is the power of vegetables. Well, we'll take power of like green leafy vegetables, for instance, right? Popeye
Mhm.
was right when he talked about the muscles growing and eating the spinach, but we know that it releases something called dietary nitrates that your body will, as you chew, you begin to transform. And all of a sudden, what begins to happen is your vessels will dilate because it interacts with the lining of the vessel called the endothelium that leads
Mm.
to what we call vasodilatation. That's
Mm.
powerful. We also understand that it's fiber that's contained inside of not just the vegetables, but inside the whole grains.
Right.
This fiber, what it does, it acts like a sponge. It soaks up something called bile acids. Bile acids are like
Mm.
detergents that your body uses to break down the fats that you eat. And so
Mm.
when it absorbs the bile acids and secretes it, the bile acids are made of cholesterol. So your body has to pull in more cholesterol out the system,
Mm.
which lowers your total cholesterol,
Yes.
decreases the likelihood of plaque formation or heart attacks happen. But it doesn't just stop there. Now, these foods, what they begin to do is that they feed what's called your gut microbiome, right?
Mhm.
So, what many people don't understand, and if you told me this when I was a kid, I would have completely lost it. I would have had to go see Dr. White. That you're actually more bacterial DNA than you are human DNA.
mercy.
Right? You're more bacterial DNA and viral DNA than you are human DNA. And what that means, you have this whole network that's living and breathing inside of you. And everything we do either feeds the good guys or it feeds the bad guys. That's what I used to
Mhm.
tell my kids when they were small.
Mhm.
And so, what studies have shown is that as we feed the good guys, with fiber rich foods, all of a sudden they break this down to something called short chain fatty acids. We know that it's going to release serotonin. We know that it's going to decrease the inflammation. We know that it's going to empower your body to decrease cancer. There's so much
Mhm.
power that's there that is latent at your fingertips from it. But it doesn't stop there. My
Mhm.
favorite fruit of all, it's become this way since I've been an adult and started studying this stuff, are berries. And
Mm.
berries are so important. And so here's the
Mhm.
reason why. When you think, I mentioned Michael Jordan, but let's think of any celebrity. What do most celebrities have with them? Who's around them when they're
Trainers.
walking down the
Their
street?
Oh,
trainers.
bodyguards.
Oh,
Bodyguards.
yes,
They
yeah,
got
yeah.
their bodyguards with them. They're not going out there. What's the other thing we know about celebrities? You kind of know them by one name. You don't have
Mm.
to be like, well, Columbus who? Batiste, Batiste, but you're not trying, you know him by name, you know him by one name, right? Kobe. You
Yeah.
say Kobe, right? MJ.
Steph,
You're gonna go one name they
LeBron.
know him by. Well, the
Mhm.
celebrities of the food, you know them by one name, one ingredient: blueberries, strawberries,
Mm.
raspberries,
Yeah.
beans, greens, rice, singular names. And they carry with them bodyguards called antioxidants.
Yes,
So,
Mhm.
sir.
what we have to understand is that our body is constantly under attack by something called free radicals. And these free
Mhm.
radicals are looking to take and destroy us. And these free
Yes.
radicals bombard our cells and they disrupt the cells, they steal the joy. They call it electrons. They steal it and
Mhm.
snatch it, causing that cell to die. And so when
Mhm.
you get these free radicals, they stand in the way. They absorb the attacks from the free
Mhm.
radicals. Doesn't it sound familiar, right?
Mhm.
And so as you eat more and more of these antioxidants, you now are defending yourself. You're loading yourself with with bodyguards on a daily basis, and that's the
Mhm.
power of eating selfishly through a plant-rich diet, right? So I try and focus on what are you eating for your health. So when people
Yeah.
ask me, well, what you're trying to say that this is bad for me? I'm not trying to say is it bad for you. I'm trying to say, can you tell me how it's good for you?
No.
Oh, I
I'm
like
not
that.
talking about if it tastes
I
good,
like that. I
but
like
can
Yeah.
that.
you tell me how it's good for you? I'm about trying to intervene. So
Mhm.
Dr. Whyte said something earlier. He said that I'm about the power of prevention, and I have to humbly disagree. I don't believe there is any prevention. There's only intervention. There is
Mm.
only intervention, because I'll tell you what, disease starts from the moment we pop out the womb. There are actually studies
Mm.
that have shown that in some individuals, mothers or smokers, start to get thickening of
Crazy.
the lining of the vessels of the heart in utero. That we
Mm.
know that atherosclerosis begins before the age of 10. So as early as 2 years of age, it
Mm.
progresses, that individuals will have this, and that it's a silent progression. And this goes to multiple disease states
Yeah.
that we're all living with microscopic cellular death that's leading to cancer. And so we're constantly in this struggle between illness and wellness. And the question is, who are we feeding? The good
Right.
guys
Mm.
or the bad guys?
You know, you just dropped so much science on
I
us.
know.
But
You
but I
definitely
think I think all the men will want you to expand on your discussion about spinach and nitrates. Dr. Batiste, why is nitrates something that we as men will be very interested in, and women too, but especially men?
Well, I'll tell you, there are many bodily functions that rely upon it, right? So when we talk about the ability to procreate, to one of the things that men suffer with as they enter into, well, first let me take a step back. One of the things that I first noticed during watching sports is that there's always these commercials about erectile dysfunction medications.
Mm.
They're
Mhm.
pervasive. And what's
Mhm.
so interesting is that over the years, the individuals in the commercial, if you've ever noticed, and not because I'm getting older, but the people are getting younger and younger. Before they would show like senior citizens in these erectile dysfunction commercials, now they're showing 30-year-olds in
Mhm.
erectile dysfunction commercials. They're advertising on social media, and the question is, why? Now we understand there's a mental health component that can play a
Mhm.
role in it. We know there's
Mhm.
multiple aspects, but I'll tell you, the root cause is a vascular issue. It's a
Yeah.
vascular issue, and
Yeah.
as the vessels become restrictive, there becomes an issue that happens. That's where study after study tells us the power that as you begin to eat fruits and vegetables and whole grains, there's improvement in erectile function. There's an improvement as a whole. But you mentioned men, but this also pertains to women.
Women, yeah.
Mhm.
So when we look at women, women have a superpower literally. So I am of the belief that women, that means that's Atonte, is way smarter than what we are. They have
Well,
like this level of intelligence that's pervasive. I believe it. I've seen it throughout school and everything. You lose your superpower when you start going through menopause. That
right.
estrogen is a superpower. Now all of a sudden, as that estrogen begins to drop, all of a sudden you start becoming subject to all of the ills that men do, the visceral fat. We start seeing the
Mhm.
cholesterol being shifting. The endothelium becomes impacted because of low estrogen. So we know the power of the principles of selfish that really can help restore and as an avenue to help women as they enter this perimenopausal and menopausal state to regain their power and their
Mhm.
vitality as much as possible. And we see the benefits of it, and that's been demonstrated: lower rates of hot flashes, lower rates of occurrence of diabetes and
Mhm.
of heart attacks when you engage in eating a whole food plant-based diet, when you engage in the components of selfish that I've kind of mentioned already.
Well, there's
So
many men in the chat who are thanking you for sharing that information. So they
so
appreciate it. Okay. We appreciate it too.
so
But something else you said when you were just dropping all those scientific facts, you were talking about healthy microbiome. And that's where I know that 95% of serotonin is produced in the gut. So you need to have the healthy
Yes.
bacteria. So you're saying a plant-based diet does that? That helps you with that? And
Absolutely. It's a let me rephrase, but you go first.
well, I just wanted to say, just so our viewers, I wanted to just say when we're talking about serotonin, this is one of the chemicals that help us to have like the happy hormone that makes us feel
neurotransmitter.
good, and so that's why it's so important for our mental health. But go ahead,
Well,
Dr.
I was
Batiste.
just gonna say, a lot of things are labeled plant-based. I mean, if you really get at it, you're looking at foods that make you chew. That means they're
Mm,
rich in fiber, and it's that fiber that does the magic. your soluble and insoluble fiber. So as you're having, if you, and what I mean by chew is think about, I remember back in the day, my dad would buy a bread called home fried bread. I don't know if they make it or not anymore. And this bread, it melts in your mouth, not in your hands. It just, you put it in there, you don't even have to
Mhm.
chew it, starts melting right away. And you juxtapose that with something called Ezekiel 949 bread. You're chewing
Mm.
for days when you're
That's
Right.
my
eating that
bread.
bread. Yep,
Yeah,
you're chewing for days.
yeah.
And why is that? Because it's rich in fiber. It's rich
Yeah.
in fiber. And that fiber is the stuff that makes a diverse microbiome. But hear me with this part. What studies have shown is that when you have a diverse microbiome, that
Mhm.
your immunity is greater, your strength is greater, your ability to withstand disease is greater. We're greater collectively the more diverse we are. Now, you take that where you want on the national level or anywhere else, we're
Mhm.
stronger the more diverse we are across the board.
Powerful. Powerful.
Wow. That is so powerful. I think we have another question. Does that also pertain to men going through um is that
And
and
andropause at a younger
andropause
age
at
now.
a younger age now? Thank you.
You know, there's so many. One of the things that you're looking at, that's a great question. So, what we're facing right now is we're facing like a world in which we're having lots of what are called endocrine disruptors that are there. And that may be from microplastics, it may be from the processing of foods, it could be the way in which we're cooking the foods. And so, we're really under significant attacks as it relates to the way in which our modernized society lives. And that's myself included. And so one of the things that becomes important, listen, I want to tell you how significant it is. I wanted to have a plant. So I got this little shabby little Charlie Brown plant back here because I don't have a green thumb. And so I did not want to have a plastic plant behind me because of the microplastics that circulate. So I bought one that forces me to try and water it and put in some sunlight and everything of that sort. As you're exposed by water bottles, you're exposed by packaging, and we're exposed by processed foods, chemicals we can't pronounce, nothing we could ever make. These things all play a role. And so the everything, and this is not to sound off the deep end. All right. You have to live and breathe and we're in this world. But the if I'm able to, so what do? I just made simple substitutions in my home. I got rid of the plastic containers that I had. I got rid of some of the plastic cups and I bought glass. No big deal. Whatever else. But guess what? If I'm out and I'm thirsty and there's nothing else to drink and someone offers me a water bottle, I'm not saying no way I'm gonna die of thirst and sit here. I drink the water
Yeah.
bottle in that moment.
Yes.
But
Mhm.
90% of the time, I'm choosing not to do that. I'm
Right.
making efforts that are conscientious. I'm looking at the ingredients. I'm making every stride to reduce that effect from a hormonal standpoint. And that's full circle back to the question as in part, why are we seeing all of these shifts in our young
Mhm.
adults? And this impact of stress, this impact of our foods, it's been well documented with
Mhm.
females going through early menarche and so forth and so
Mhm.
forth. And we see the same thing affecting our men. We see the same thing for infertility for men is with the microplastics.
Bro, what's the plant you would recommend for someone like myself? I've got a friend. So yeah, like that you would recommend for, sitting in an office like this. What's the plant you'd recommend?
Well, first of all, you're asking the wrong somebody because I
Okay.
dropped out of. I did not want to do plants. And I did not want to deal with like rodents inside of biology. So I took biochemistry so I
Mhm.
could
You
avoid.
mean you and me both. That's why I'm asking you.
Yeah, so I
Put
went
it in the
on.
chat if you guys know. If you guys know the plant
Yeah,
that I
please,
should get
people can
for
help
an
me
Yeah, we're
office
gonna
too as
like
well.
this, let us know, man, because I definitely want to step my game up.
yeah, my
I
mom
bought
and
a.
my grandfather had a green thumb, but it didn't pass to me. Like I buy
Oh,
plants, but they die.
And I
yeah,
have a very black thumb. Okay, so uh,
ditto,
super
ditto.
black.
I'm
Okay.
telling you. So I got this plant. I was like, oh man, this looks good. It's gonna look all full and everything.
Right?
All of a sudden the leaves are dying and I'm going
Yeah.
back and forth, but I'm committed to I'm not giving up. I promise I want to make this
Props,
plant flourish.
props to Noel Gully. Noel Gully.
Snake
Props to
plants.
you.
They say snake plants are so good with cleaning the air. So
That's what I'm talking
Uh,
so
about.
that's your answer to your
You gotta
question,
you gotta
Dr.
send her
Whyte.
a T-shirt, Sister Tante.
Say that again.
You gotta send her a T-shirt.
I gotta send her a t-shirt. Yes.
Email her
Yes.
at info at Living Manna. What is it?
Yes, 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 yes. I also, we want
Yeah.
to, we're not done asking Dr. Batiste questions, but we just want to let you know where you can get the book Selfish. So we're going to put that, I think we're going to put that on the chat and put the link so that you will be able to get that. You can get it off of Amazon and you'll be able to go through the book on your time and take out all the amazing information. It's in the chat now, so please check that out. All the information that Dr. Batiste has in that book. Please, you have about 7 to 10 minutes to ask your questions. So please put in the chat if you have a question for Dr. Batiste. But this has been already such an amazing, insightful discussion. So, for those who are just wondering, well, you've been very clear with the science and that a
Wait, could we
plant-based.
have him talk about his conference that's
Yes, we're
about
going to
to
do
happen?
that. We're definitely
Okay,
going to do
all right.
that.
Gotcha, gotcha.
I just want to, ask for people who are wondering, who are just joining us for the first time and never have heard of, well, they've heard of a plant-based diet, but that it can be that impactful in their lives. Um, you know, how what would you say, where should they start if they're just hearing this for the first time about a plant-based diet?
Yeah. So is that start learning more or start to experiment and try it out?
Both.
Yeah. So one of the things that I would say is that I would choose if I'm just starting out. First of all, it's not as foreign as you think. When you think
Mhm.
of smoothies you might make at home, and you put your blueberries and a little bit of maybe you put a little vegetables inside there, a little bit of water or plant milk or so. That's a form of eating a plant based meal. That's there. A bowl
Absolutely.
and berries on it. And when you think of
Mhm.
a salad, now I didn't say ranch soup with a few pieces of lettuce. I mean actual robust amount of leaves and
You
different
said
different
ranch
things
soup.
that have a crunch factor, right?
Mhm.
But one of the best ways I love to do it and encourage folks is using the bowl method. And so if you think of any of your types of restaurants to say, what kind of rice do you want? What type of grain? Okay, what type of skip over the meat and say, what kind of bean do you want? What type of lettuce do you want? And go that route or potato bar or Italian bar. That becomes so easy. And it gives, especially for kids, because what it
Mhm.
does is it empowers them that they're getting to make a choice as it
Right.
relates to it, having soup, smoothies, and salads. So that's an aspect in terms of adopting it. In terms of learning more about it, there are numerous resources that you can look at. I would probably say the most exhaustive, a lot of the providers, the physicians, and educators out there, we all have our different style. But
Mhm.
one I would say, and I still support him, I recommend all the time is Michael Greger on
Mm.
nutritionfacts.org.
Okay.
That's an easy site. Now I'm gonna give it to you a little bit more kind of, I'm not gonna tell you you have to eat this, but I'm gonna give you the reasons why you want to eat it. And so you
Right.
can sign up for my newsletter on drbatiste.com. Dr. Greger has been at this for about 15 plus years. He's built up a
Mhm.
huge catalog, whether or not you're talking about mental health, if you're talking about heart disease, you're talking about rheumatologic disease, if you're saying, well, are eggs good or bad? Or, hey, can I have
Mhm.
this? And he just is giving you the science on what it says. And that can be very helpful as you're on this journey. And I think if you take a mindset and
Mhm.
don't focus so much on what you can't have,
Right.
but you flip it on what can you have. Just focus on what you can have. I'll never forget this young lady who I encountered. And so she was saying to me, well, Doc, what should I eat? I said, okay, I want you to start every meal with a large salad. I want you to do this, 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 and this. And I'm gonna be too full to eat anything else. I just smiled at her.
That's the
Okay.
point.
Yes.
I just smiled at her, you know?
That's the point.
There's another question, but before we go there, I want you to be able to promote your conference as well. And so if we could put that in the link and you talk about an upcoming conference that you have.
Yeah. So I mean, it's basically what they call like IRL, I'm learning about in real life, you know. So we're bringing this right here in
Mhm.
real life. And so one is understanding the power that you have at your fingertips and the things that you do in your daily basis in terms of the
Mhm.
food and offsetting disease. And we talk about that on day one. And we go through that with experts around the country. On day two, we're really looking at how to apply it in our communities, right? Because
Mhm.
no man's an island and we need to be able to help our neighbor out. There's a great analogy or story from like the turn of the 20th century that that fire stations used to be privatized.
Mm.
And so they quickly learned that, guess what? If my neighbor's house is burning and they don't have a fireman coming to help them, that's going to spread to me. And so we see that perhaps in our neighborhoods and the foods that are become available at the schools our kids are at and the foods that they're eating. And so we want to
Mhm.
enrich our communities. We want to empower people to understand that guess what? We're not telling you you can't, but we're telling you you can. You have
Mhm.
a right to live healthfully. And that's what the Help Conference is about. Is trying to establish a platform to go out into to communities that are at risk and really helping them to understand that guess what, your health, yes, you need to have insurance, yes, you need to have take your
Mhm.
medications, but there's a
Right.
lot more that you can do on your own that can
Mhm.
empower your health. And that's what the Help Conference is about.
That's excellent. That's awesome.
It's
So, if you
awesome.
want to know more about the Help Conference, the link is in the chat. So please go there and learn more about that. There's a question here, and if you well, let's see what you know about it. I don't know, but the question is from Brittany. She's saying, "What's the best place to start if wanting to learn about the red light therapy?"
Oh, that's great. That's a great question. So there are some small pieces of information there. I'm not aware of a large aggregate. The problem when it comes to red light, so I just actually looked this up for an upcoming episode I'm creating about the infrared sauna, the red
Mhm.
light. And so the
Mhm.
red light is going to give you that warmth that's there and what it does in terms of your system and so forth. There's the largest studies are probably outside the US when we're looking in the Finnish and so forth.
Mhm.
They've done a fair amount of research as it relates to it. There's not a large aggregate. You can start, to be honest with you, I would typically Google red light and research. Right?
Mhm.
That's the first start that's there. I don't know of a great book, and that's the fault on my own. So when I've done it, I've gone inside of the medical literature. I've gone into PubMed, some other things when I pulled the data. So an easy way without telling you to go to PubMed, which is a kind of a scientist physician type of portal that's there, is I will Google red light and clinical research or
Mhm.
outcomes. Those are simple
Mhm.
search terms. There's Google Scholar, which may give you some of the articles and say, is this good? Is it bad? Now, if you're looking for more practical terms, then it's more of, okay, how do I apply it? And you want to, once again, I will put that inside of a Google Scholar because you want as close to scientific approach that's validated
Mhm.
as much as possible. So for instance, when I was looking and reviewing my experience in red light, I saw that 30 to 45 minutes is about the length of time. I happen to do
Mhm.
45 minutes in that instance, but I actually saw that, well, I've only been doing about once a month, but actually you probably get the greatest benefit a couple times a week. Well,
Mhm.
I don't have the bandwidth to kind of do it that amount of time, but you're looking at,
Mhm.
okay, what exactly are the benefits going to be? Well, in my case, I saw that it relaxes the endothelium, it lowers the blood pressure, that it helps stimulate the immune system too as well by that warmth and
Mhm.
through a mechanism of action that's too complicated to get into right now. But you start to kind of learn about these things and you realize, okay, there is science. And so not
Mhm.
everything that counts can be counted and not everything that
Mhm.
can be counted counts. And we understand that. So we
Mhm.
want to really make sure that we're looking at finding out first, does it cause harm? And we balance out, can this be beneficial without number one, cost, number two, adverse effects on me? Those are
Mm.
and is there any level of validation? That's my approach towards anything, whether or not it's from your doctor or if it's
Right.
inside the community.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes. No, thank you for that answer. I'm sure that, gave them some direction for red light therapy. I want to put the book back up where you can get it, Selfish from Dr. Batiste. So please let's put that in the link and we have time for one or two more questions. And so if you can get that in, want to say welcome. Somebody is saying greetings from Pakistan. So we want to say back to you, greetings. Thank you
Greetings.
for being here on our program this evening. But
Quick
yes,
question.
oh, go ahead, Dr. White.
Yeah, so I got a quick question for you. I'm sure you probably haven't heard of Kachava. Have you heard of Kachava?
Yes, I have.
Bro, man, what do you think of Kachava, man? I live by it.
So when
My
it comes
friend, I should say my friend lives.
yeah, no, cassava, when I've read through the ingredients and so forth. So I think the one thing when it comes to all of the protein supplements, um, is that we have to, one is we probably consume more protein than we need to. Is number one, is what I would say across the board. I think though, when you're on the go, as you're a busy practitioner and you may not have time to sit down and have a full meal, having that access of something on the go and you want the cleanest ingredients as much as possible. So once again, first thing, is it trusted? Is there any type of validation with it? Are any of the ingredients harmful? Then I'm looking at what is reported with it. So one of the things I'm looking at is I'm looking at what percent of the recommended daily allowance is it. Now, if it comes in at 2%, 1%, well, how much is it really adding? Now, that's not Kachava State. I know that theirs is pretty up, it's pretty high there, and
Right.
they have an assortment of different um, uh, quote unquote superfoods or thoughts, things of that nature. So it's that's my approach when it comes to protein. So, do I have protein supplements? I do. Do I take them on a regular basis? I don't. But I know, just being fully transparent with the audience, I believe in being transparent. When I'm in the cath lab and I'm busy doing cases and I'm running around and I don't have time to really stop like that, having something, so number one, I have some carbohydrate nutrients, but I don't have time to chew. I already told you it's the powers in chewing. Then that's an easy go-to for me to make sure I get it. But you want balance. And so I say that that's important. So there are studies that tell us it improves your satiety, so you're not so hungry and famished. But the only reason why I'm giving caution, Dr. Whyte, is because we live in a proteinaholic state. We're so focused on protein. And so I don't want someone to hear Kachava as a protein supplement and that I gotta get a protein supplement, right? And that they're taking like, you know, 2 grams per kilogram or 3 grams as if they're playing in the NFL or basketball or anything else like that. So that's the only caution. But I think everything I've read about Kachava specifically, it seems pretty solid.
Right.
It
Yeah. I
seems,
mean, it's. I wouldn't even call it for me. It's not even a supplement. It replaces breakfast for me. Plus,
yeah,
I'll add some fruits.
yes, you gotta
And
do
so
that.
now I eliminated all that frying because you told my wife throw away all our oil. So, so now no more frying, no more my patacones. But yeah. So but
I
thank
love
you
it.
for the feedback. Thank you for
I
the
know,
feedback.
I love it. Now you sprinkle some. You got your berries on there.
I
You
toss
sprinkle.
in my blueberries. Yes.
Yeah, you get some flax seeds, some chia, get your omegas on there, and you cooking. You're cooking.
Okay. Okay.
That sounds very good, healthy and good. Since we're asking questions about what we do, I'm going to ask you. So I drink matcha. I drink matcha tea
Mhm.
and I typically don't put a sweetener in it. I mean, people can, but I don't put a sweetener in it. So, what are your takes on that?
I mean, matcha's a green tea, and green tea is
Mhm.
so rich in antioxidants, so powerful.
Mhm.
There's so much evidence supporting the benefits of green tea, and so I see it as a plus
Yes.
in terms of the consumption of green tea. Period.
You worried about caffeine at
I
all?
think it's a plus too. It gives me very clean energy. We have one last question. What are your thoughts on fasting for days? 48. Are you asking 48 days, 72 days? Hours. Sorry. 48 hours, 72 hours, 100 hours. Okay, good. I'm glad it's hours and not days.
So I think
Or
fasting is,
intermittent fasting.
yeah, that fasting is that's an ancient art that has been validated in studies that we know that is beneficial, right? And so the length of time that you fast may require you to have some physician supervision, the type of fasting that you do. There are
Mm,
many forms of it. So whether or not we talk about intermittent fasting or time restricted feeding, which most people are referencing, that's where you will only eat for a period of time of 6 hours or 8 hours. Well, that's
mhm,
natural, right? So you should stop eating at a certain period of time. And what's so powerful about it is that studies have shown you can eat the same identical thing
mhm,
in the morning versus the evening. Your body processes it completely different. Okay.
mhm,
And your metabolism will be shifted in terms of your blood glucose, the cholesterol absorption, everything of that sort. And so having the bulk of your meal early morning makes the most sense.
mhm,
The heavier meals and so forth, carbohydrate rich meals. Now,
mhm,
there was a study that brought up a lot of consternation about a year and a half ago. I forget exactly. That was referencing that, hey, maybe there were worse cardiovascular outcomes from people who fasted. What they didn't characterize was the quality of food. Now, you can't fast and have burgers and fries and steak and pizza and think that you're going to have an improved health outcome because you fasted
mhm,
during that period of time. So the quality of food still matters, but the time restriction has been shown. Now, Walter Longo has done a phenomenal job of doing. USC has done tremendous research where what he's done is he's gotten the benefits of fasting over a 5 day period of time with a
mhm,
restricted caloric intake. So you're
mm,
still eating and you're
Mm,
drinking teas during this period of time, and he's shown an improved immune function, a
mm-hmm.
decrease as far as an inflammation. He's
Yeah.
shown like all the benefits in terms of diabetes. And so a
Mm,
cycle of 5 days at the beginning of every month, I believe it's somewhere around 900 calories into like 600 for about 3 or 4 days. I forget the exact amount. And he has a
mm,
specific regimen. And so he balances it out. It's through a site called
mm,
Prolong. But
mm.
there are, one can mimic that sort of pattern of what he does in your own life and the foods, depending upon how aggressive you are.
Yes. I just want to say on top of that, just my experience with fasting. I've done this throughout the years and stopped, but I'm doing it again currently now. And I got this from a doctor, and so you have to get it from your doctor. Don't do what I do, but do it, what's safe for you. But I do 36-hour fast once a week, and I do that for inflammation. And I can say that it does help to lower. I have felt for me, it has helped with my inflammation issue because of
Absolutely.
my autoimmune disease. And it's not as
Can you
hard as people
unpack that?
think. When I say 36 hours, I'm like, I'm sleeping for probably 16 of those 36 hours. It's not like
Yeah.
you're asleep. So it's not as hard. But and then when you wake up the next morning, I feel like I'm not hungry at all. I don't have that hunger craving when you wake up the next morning. It's just very interesting feeling. But
Though,
yes.
truth be told, I did a 21-day fast years ago now. Time slips
Wow.
by. And I'll be honest, it was a struggle the first couple of days. And
Right.
then I had this sense. It wasn't completely no water, no anything. Just a green juice fast.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I had this sense where everything came quickly to me.
Wow.
Like I just felt like
Your mind's
I felt
clear.
like
Yes.
my mind opened up in that
Yes.
moment. And so literally, and the downside was it almost gave me a sense of like, you inferior mortals. What's wrong with you? Not only that, but my senses exploded. My sense of
Mm,
smell, my hearing, everything just exploded. And
mm,
it was amazing. And I've struggled to get back to doing that again. And I make all sorts of excuses. Number one, it's a lengthy period of time because of
yeah, that is.
work or this, that, and the other. But I have restricted and gone essentially without any processed foods. And I have very minimal processed foods anyway, but I've
Right.
gone completely processed foods, and it's given me a similar type of feeling. So I think the one thing that it's telling us is science, personal experience. These are anecdotal experiences from
Right.
Atonte and myself, and
Yeah.
not scientific research. But there is
Right.
a plethora of scientific research which validates really what I described, what she's described, the process that happens in the body. And so it's something to kind of consider looking at. There are sites that do it under medical supervision. True
Right.
North in Northern California. There are several other sites that do it as well. They've had phenomenal outcomes with hypertension, with some
Mm-hmm.
cancers that they've reported inside of literature. And so there is something to it. Now, if you go and you talk to your doctor about this, if you talk to me about 18 years ago, I would have just shook my head at you and said, "What are you talking about? Don't listen to those crazy people over there." And I'm not saying to abandon anything traditional, but what I'm saying is that there is something to the body reset, and there is growing science as we're reporting more and more about the power of a lot of these modalities.
Yes.
Well, when you're fasting, one of the things you're doing is you're not feeding precancerous cells.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is why it's so powerful to eat a little less than what would fill you, is because you don't want all of your cells fed in a sense. But no,
And your
wonderful
energy, I
information.
find my energy goes way up because
Mhm.
my body's not having to digest food. So I'll
Yeah.
have a lot of energy by the end of the day, which is great. We have to take this last question. We have to take it because it is my sister in love, Veronica Myers. She has a
Hey,
question.
Veronica.
And so she is asking, does matcha have as much caffeine as coffee? I just want to say, I don't know the answer to that. I'm just assuming maybe not as much as coffee because I could never drink coffee. It gave me the jitters, but I can drink matcha. So, but maybe Dr.
So
Batiste.
I don't know the actual milligram amount that's there, and I think but there will be a lot of factors that will come into play. So my initial gut response, and it's without me recalling specific numbers, is that it's less than coffee. But
Mhm.
realize with coffee, you're going to have espresso, you're going to have different brews and types of blonde, different ones that are there that will have different levels of caffeine. And so we know that there is a max amount of for caffeine that will cause harm. So here's the thing: studies so far, for the most part, and I don't want to speak out both sides of my mouth, have not really validated the harmful component of caffeine from coffee beans or from green
Mhm.
tea. What they've noted, the harmful components are what we add to it, the sugar, the cream, and so forth,
I would think so.
in the amounts. Now, on a practical level, that's not validated by research. I always like to separate this. I have not
Mhm.
found research to validate this. My concern for individuals is just what you mentioned, Tante, is about the jitters, about the heart
Mhm.
palpitations, the skip beats. I'm concerned that what happens when you have caffeine is that you pee, right? You urinate, you're losing free water, which may lead to
Mhm.
dehydration to some degree, electrolyte instability, propagate arrhythmias for individuals, but that has not been validated consistently in research trials, for me to say it. I also don't like the thing that happens less so with those who consume matcha and green tea. I haven't seen it
Mhm.
documented. Doesn't say it doesn't exist. I haven't come across that data.
Mhm.
Is the withdrawal effect? Is it when I don't like from like coffee and caffeine and so forth? It's the
Mhm.
withdrawal that if you don't have it, you have a blaring headache, you get grumpy and irritable. I have not
Right.
seen that play out from what I've found from matcha and green tea in the same way I
Mhm.
have from coffee, and then obviously all these energy drinks. Just as a side note, this is harmful to your body. Science has told me this completely, and it will wind you up with not me. I'm a plumber of the heart, but you're going to see one of my colleagues who are electricians of the heart is what will end up happening.
Mhm. Yes.
Profound.
Well, this time has flown by. Dr. Batiste, thank you for stopping by and spending this time with us. We are very thankful. I know our audience is thankful. Want to put up one more time the book Selfish, where you can get it. We're going to put that link up so you can get that on Amazon, and also the link for the Help Conference so you can get more information about that as well. So we want you guys to check all of that out. It's always fun to do the program with you, Dr. Whyte and Dr. Batiste. Thank you again. To our
Thank
viewing
you.
audience, we will see you in 2 weeks. We're going to take another break. We'll see you in 2 weeks, and we will be right back here with you for Mental Health Monday. Have a good evening.
Thank you again, Dr.
All
Batiste.
right. Thank you guys.